I'm the Geeky Amreeki.
I'm Seth.
And you're watching Distant Socializing. So let everybody know who you are and what you do.
It's so funny. I get asked that question a lot, and it's the reason why I'm still, I wouldn't say single, but I have no job. So I am Seth, and I am it's so corny. I don't like saying it. Not a podcaster or a YouTuber, but a show host. For layman's terms, a podcaster.
And what's the podcast about?
It's sports, fitness, lifestyle. And those are the three elements which we're kind of focusing on. So sports, and everyone's like, oh, you mean like basketball and stuff? I haven't talked about a regular sport or a sport that everyone knows about for quite some time now. So we deal with like the weird sports, like not weird, but like for me, the sports that I'm into, like maybe weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting, CrossFit, and a lot of like personal training stuff. The fitness side, the sports fitness, the fitness side, we touch on a lot of nutrition aspects. We bring a lot of nutritionists on. We talk about how to eat right, how to eat healthy. Like last Ramadan when we had people talking about, oh, what should I eat? What should I do this? How can I train and eat right? And lifestyle, I think that's when we start to open up and we kind of talk about literally everything else.
Yeah, it's like when you had me on and we talked about sports movies.
Exactly. You are considered the lifestyle concept. It was like, oh, we need a sports... because what I was looking at, what I was trying to think about when I pitched you for the idea, I'm like, yo, there's a lot of sports movies, especially iconic ones, and we need someone to like break down the how legitimate are these sports movies. A lot of them is like fake.
Yeah.
Like where's that line between it's too real and it's too like fake? I don't know. We did a good job.
Yeah,
like,
we went to a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's it's like Marvel. It's the formula. Even when they have something that's true, they've got to add some stuff to it. Like when we said The Blind Side, right. They made it look like the guy had never seen a football in his life, and she had to go out in the field and be like, ball, chase, guy, hit, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Did that dude like take offense to that movie? If I'm not mistaken, like he was like, "This is not me at all." Like he actually like.
I mean, like the personality and stuff that he said, that was fairly in line, but. Them saying like he didn't know anything about football and that he was like big strong man hit players,
That's what I got out of it. Like she's literally took this guy and it's like ball, run, score
in the nice Sandra Bullock way.
The nice Sandra Bullock way.
What did you do before you were a podcaster?
Before I started this whole podcast journey, I used to work in a contracting company, my dad's uncle's company. So I used to work with my dad. When this started taking off, my dad noticed that I was paying more attention to this Sit Down with Seth more than I am kind of
Sit Down with Dad.
Job. Sit down more Sit Down with Dad. And funny enough, we came and I sat with Dad, and he was like, he looks at me, he's like, "You're not happy, right?" I was like, "Me? Not happy? What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Listen, let's be honest. If you see this podcasting thing going up and becoming a career for you, you can go and I'll support you." So I had the blessing from my dad to kind of pursue this. And I've been keeping my word and pursuing it. Every time he sees that I'm kind of doing something, especially now, like especially these weird times, quarantine times, he's like, he looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I'm actually working. He's like, "Cool. So you're keeping your end of the bargain?" I'm like, "Yes, I am."
So you live with your dad?
Yeah.
That's how you're able to be a podcaster.
That's exactly. I was 30 and I live with my parents.
You can go to school, get your degree, and then you can't even get a job at a coffee shop these days, man. Well, definitely these days. You can't get a job anywhere these days.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's how I'm kind of looking at it from that perspective. Like, yo, I can make something out of this. I know, like to me, there is no fail. I'm pursuing this till the end, whatever it takes. All I know is I gave it 110%. I'm not looking back.
Same thing with me. Like, dude, you see how much content I'm putting out. I hate that word too, content. I mean, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a critic, whatever.
You've been doing this for quite some time now.
So I've been doing like straight up filmmaking for 10 years now. End of 2009, I started it. I went to school for visual communication. So like, how do you go from contracting guy to I'm going to do a podcast about sports?
What I did at my dad's place, I'll just explain really quickly what I did. It was procurement. So my job was to get the supplies and whatever, cement and all that, analyze the prices, find the cheapest guy, call him, be like, too expensive, lower the price. That job required too many numbers, interacting with the wrong people. Funny enough, the whole podcasting career for me started actually a long time ago. And I was just talking with a bunch of buddies, but basically we just talk for hours and hours and hours, and it's always like something funny. We had this dude, his name was Deeb, and every time Deeb shows up, he has to have some sort of funny story or something has to happen to him. Like the time he got attacked by birds and he's explaining what happened. I'm like, how? Tell us. So I'm like, dude, I have a thing I want to try out with you. I want us to sit, me, you, and my buddy Sid, and we need to record these conversations and end every conversation with a deep story. Deep, his name is Deep, so we call it a deep story. And that was the first base to, we had a podcast called the Coffee Shop Podcast because it was basically based in the coffee shop we're talking about. That went on for a bit. Then it ended quickly because the dude who recorded sound, very particular with like how the sound came out. So he had to go back home, fix it, upload it. One day things just got lazy and people decided to not want to do it. Years down the line, me and Sid, my buddy, were like, dude, we should do the podcast again. I have the gear. Just come over and we won't focus much on detail. We'll just have a conversation. And then Sit and Seth podcast started. We would have 2 podcasts a week. One would be just us. We'll just talk about what happened during the week. Second podcast, we'd have literally anyone. We would have a friend on and talk about anything else. Life got in the way. He had to say, I can't do this. He couldn't commit. And he had to bounce. 2 years ago, I was like, that's it. I'm going to do my own show. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to call the shots. That's the year where I actually started taking things seriously in a sense where like I'm going to actually call people out that have something unique to talk about and actually kind of ask engaging questions. But at the same time, I didn't take it as serious. It was more or less like, hey, are you free? Yeah, come over. We're doing a podcast. When it really picked up is when I got basically he's my mentor, my good friend, my gym coach, calls me up. He wants to talk business. I'm like, not business, but he wants to help me. We want to work together. I'm like, cool, man, let's do it. So he runs a sporting goods place called Force Sports. I have this idea. You have the gear, we have the connections. If I just hesitate on small things, I'm just going to like not do it. So at the time, I was just focusing on sound. Because for me, it was SoundCloud. Record on GarageBand, upload. He's like, how about we go live and just do an actual live show, a live podcast? And I'm like, I'm game. Let's do it. I have the gear. He's like, cool. And from there, a year now, we've been working together, collaborating, creating out content, trying to stay as consistent as possible. And we haven't missed an episode.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent. It's every Monday at 7.
Every Monday at 7, yeah. And if we like, we try and book guests in advance. I mean, the beauty about having Force on board, and it's just been literally a blessing, is because we're a team. At the time, I couldn't do it alone alone, what made it easy for me, because it was just sound. I would literally have people over. I'd have I'd come over. They would just sit down. I'd press record. I'm all right, guys, let's start talking. Bounce it, upload it on SoundCloud. So having a team has become more essential. We need to communicate with different people. We got to all right, we need to find guests for the show. And when we first started, it was kind of rocky. We were like kind of going guest to guest to guest to guest. Suddenly we found our rhythm. We found our flow. We found like our production schedule. And that's how it went. I'd go every morning. We'd go to the office. We'd have a meeting. We'd discuss potential guests. I'd call them up in advance. Say, hey, are you free this day? It just became like a regular show. It's a bit easier actually because it's not every Monday, because what I do is we don't go live anymore because of we're at home. So I can't really go to the office. So I try and do as many episodes as I can. And I just give the episodes to my videographer, Adel, and he just makes episodes out of them and we just release them.
Who's your weirdest guest?
I don't know. That didn't come off as weird. If I had to really say, I'd say you.
Yeah.
Honestly,
we just kind of did our thing and said what we want to say. It wasn't
exactly.
I'm here
Like,
and I'm going to talk about this. Yeah.
no, exactly. And like, bless every guest I've had. Honestly, man, every guest I've had, super professional, super what's it called. And I think they were nervous because it's not like they didn't know what they were getting themselves into, but like, I just told them, yo, it's just a show. Come
Yeah.
in, chat up a storm. We're here, we're hanging out, make it light, make it funny. And people got it, people didn't get it. They were like shy. And I tried to like say something. I mean, that's the thing I kind of struggled with when guests kind of don't know what to say, but they were kind of nervous.
Yeah. And people will be, la, 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 and as soon as you say we're rolling, they're like,
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I encourage my guests to come 30 minutes before. This is if I don't know them. So if I literally the first day I'm meeting them was the day, I'd encourage them to come like 30 minutes before, just so we can have like friendly banter, be back and forth. And then we go live. I'm like, you see what we just did 30 minutes ago? Literally what's going to happen right now, but I'm going to direct the conversation to like your life. And that's pretty much how I kind of run things. I don't ask controversial questions. That's not my style. I'm all about like kind of bringing guests over so they can present what they've got. Everyone assumes, like my cousin, I love this dude, but I hate him because he looks at me. He's like, Seth, he doesn't call me Seth, but he calls me Ahmed. He's like, Ahmed, you're fat and you have a fitness show. I'm like, look, man, I'm not the expert. I bring in the experts and they tell me how to be fit. Whether or not I want to take their advice, that's my choice. But they're here to present their thing. I just want to ask questions.
yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it. How I look at my show.
He sounds like me when I was like 19, 20, and I was in the military, and I had like, it wasn't like, six-pack chest, biceps, but I was in pretty good shape. I was a firefighter, and I could like run 100 pounds of like gear plus my, kilos. I could do like 50, 60 kilos of hose, and then my 20 kilo backpack and all my gear, and go up like 10 stories and back down like nothing. And any other firefighter who had like the slightest amount of fat on their belly, I'd be like, you fat piece of shit. And now I look at myself, I look like I'm like 7 months pregnant, and I'm like, man, 19, 20-year-old me would be such an annoying piece of shit.
To me, this is a power gut. So I don't like knock it. Like what I'm training right now, like being chubby, I kind of pride myself from it. You gave me a lot of compliment when you put the sign up, like weightlifter.
Weightlifter and bodybuilder is two different things.
That's what I want people to understand right there, that what I do is not physique. I don't look pretty. I can lift heavy, which I'm proud about. When I did my documentary, Top Dog, and I talked about all these people, all these amazing athletes, man, I've grown to appreciate a bodybuilder because they put so much work into looking good. And then you look at a powerlifter where they look normal, but they're ridiculously strong. And at burgers, I'm be strong. If I can take that, I'll catch that on any day. So
yeah, man, they're eating so much food to keep that strength up, and with all their training and everything else.
Yes, they have a sort of form and physique. Yes, they look strong because they're lifting massive weights. But if you really dig into why they look this way, it's because they're literally eating like 10,000 calories.
Yeah.
10,000 calories. I can't fathom that. Does that compute with me? Like, to me, it's like I had like one meal and I'm done. These guys are like, yep, gotta eat more.
Yeah, man.
And then they're lifting these crazy amounts of weight, like crazy. Yeah, I mean, they're not focusing on like one muscle group. I mean, the bodybuilder I had on the documentary, I was telling him these are the workouts, and he was kind of confused and he just didn't get it. And we told him, look, most of these workouts, they're not your expert, so don't go heavy, don't exceed the weight. Don't like two of the movements were Olympic weightlifting movements, which he went super light. We don't blame him for that because literally that's not what's in his workout routine.
Yeah. This
bodybuilder is built to go to the gym, focus on like one body part for 45 minutes. That's a bodybuilder. Olympic weightlifter would tell you, oh, I squat every day. These guys don't squat every day. And that's the thing I learned about the documentary is that everyone has a different routine. It broadened my horizon so much. And I'm like, it made me appreciate what I do even more.
It's like when I was in the fire department, I would go in, I'd work out for like an hour and a half. every shift, so every other day, because we were 24 on, 24 off. And it would be 45 minutes or so, the same workout every single time. And it was just like stuff with my arms, shoulders, some abs, a little bit of legs, like just an overall thing. And then I would do like 45 minutes on like the elliptical, because I hated treadmill. I hated the stair climber. Elliptical, you're just like, I actually broke an elliptical machine in Saudi Arabia because I was in such good shape at the time, man. And I would crank it all the way up, and I would just listen to like Korn and Deftones and just go, And then
hey, what Deftones song?
It was like the whole White Pony album.
Good album. Okay.
Yeah, it was really good. All of a sudden, it wasn't doing its thing, and the guy came over. He's like, "Man, I told you you're too hard on the machine. You're in here like every night." I lost 22 kilos in 3 months in Saudi, and I was eating like a madman, dude. Because the way that we worked, you had your 24-hour shift. When you weren't working, you had 24 hours off. It's like, what the fuck am I gonna do on this base in the middle of Saudi Arabia that I'm not allowed to leave because they don't want me to get my head chopped off or whatever, because that was at the time when things weren't exactly, copacetic with the region. I was like, well, they have a pool, so I'll go to the pool. And then the first day I went to the pool, me being an idiot, I didn't bring sunblock with me. I was there for like 4 hours. I'm one of those where I don't look or feel burned. But once I leave or go do the thing, it just comes out. It's like a lobster or whatever. Your normal skin and then just red. By the end of the night, it was literally almost like a helmet of just hardened, like discharge pus stuff. So for like a week, man, my head was leaking. I had basically sun poisoning or what. It was bad.
Oh my God.
It looked like a burn victim or something. It was nasty.
Oh man.
I eventually learned like how much sunblock and whatever. By the end of that deployment, dude, I was so dark. I was like Tropic Thunder. You know what I mean? I went to the airport going back to Japan, because I was stationed in Japan at the time. And this lady was talking to me in Spanish.
Oh, whoa.
I was like, no habla español. And then she was like, no, you're not Spanish. I'm like, no, I'm white as fuck. Where I used to wear the board shorts was completely like white and pale. So when I would take them off, I had basically, it was like if you spray paint over something and then you take something off, it was like that. And I had a tan line for over a year. That's how dark I got. But yeah, so I would spend like 6 hours a day at the pool, because they had like a basketball hoop and a volleyball thing. So basically on that base, which was very small, you had the gym, the pool, volleyball courts, chow hall, the movie theater, and then sex. Like, people were doing it like crazy over there. And it ended up being the #1 base for STDs in all of the U.S. military. Which was bananas, because there was only like a few thousand people, and some bases have like 20, 30, 40,000 people on whatever.
The frat house of U.S. bases, eh?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I would do, in the morning, I'd go to the pool, then I'd get lunch, then I would go chill for a little bit, usually play some PlayStation 1. That's what was out at the time. And then I would go back to the pool for a couple hours, go eat, then I would go chill again, watch movies or shows or whatever. And then I would go work out, then I would come home, take a shower, and go to bed. It was the same thing every other day. But because of that, man, like, I lost all that weight and everything else. But because I was working out so much and I had to eat so much, and I still lost, like I said, 22 kilos or 23 kilos or whatever, to the point when I got back, the Japanese firefighters, they were like, oh, Timothy-san, movie star, because I had like cheekbones and you could see my jaw and stuff. Like the opposite of right now. Right now I look like fucking Mr. Potato Head, but whatever.
Would you like, when this whole thing kind of blows over, would you consider going back and like training and like trying to get back in shape? Or
no, yeah, for sure I want to, man. It's just like, for me, there's a couple of things. Really, there shouldn't be any excuses. Time, yes, you can always make time. I know that.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything.
No, but I'm saying, I know, get up a half hour early and go for a run, whatever. I get it. And then money. I have like a set of weights, like 2 11-kilo weights. I bought gloves, so I can do my basically I can do my entire exercise regime that I did when I was a firefighter here. If I was motivated enough. So the money and the time thing are legit when it comes to, because I'm always working and editing and filming and writing and whatever, because you have other to help you. Me, it's just me. Everything is me, including all the social media, which you see like 4 different things a week, all the different graphics and stuff. So yeah, man, like I really want to. I want to lose this gut because I'm tired of looking like, fucking pregnant, or looking like every dude in Tennessee over the age of 35. What kind of stuff should people expect? Why should they follow Sit Down with Seth on like Instagram and all that?
Other than the guests that I'm continuing to have every Monday, I am currently working with Adil on creating like a cooking thing that's happening. So I'm gonna try and cook something and make it a comical cooking show. I also want to create kind of a game show on Zoom, which I'm hoping you'd be involved in. Look out for that invite. So there's a lot of things that are still kind of, it's on beta test and sense of where I got to meet up with my team to talk about. But those 2 things are sort of in my mind today. Adil actually brought up the whole idea of having 4 people on Zoom, and then we would do like a little game show. Nothing quick, not a podcast, because I realized Zoom is kind of delayed.
Yeah.
So you can't really talk over each other. So it's going to be like more of a game show where one person talks and everyone reacts to what he said. Got to sit down and actually write like the plot or the proposal to it. Other thing is, I was just talking about it today, that I'd cook something and I'd show you how to cook it. Because that's one thing I actually picked up during this quarantine is cooking. Well, baking. So I make a mean banana bread. That's because I am so bored. Fucking nothing to do other than playing PlayStation, which I recently picked up again, is bake. And man, I can make a fucking kick-ass banana cake, and I'm proud of it. This is how I know. This is how I know if I do something nice. This is how I know it's gone well. If my dad asks for seconds, and that's happened twice. When I made slow-cooked ribs, which you shred beef ribs, obviously, which you shred, you make it to like a bun. Yeah, we don't eat pork here, so it has to be beef.
Yeah. The only ribs are pork.
Only ribs. Well, I disagree, man. Beef.
No,
sorry, it's so meaty.
Good.
It's so good.
Yeah, but man, if somebody was like, "You want some bacon?" I'd be like, "Give me that fucking bacon right now." And then I have friends who are like, "Haram, bro," and I'm like, "Dude, you smoke up, you talk to chicks and do stuff with chicks, you drink. Don't tell me haram because I want some bacon." Like,
there's that weird line where it's like they'll smoke, drink, but they won't gamble. That's my favorite one. They won't gamble.
If they're playing FIFA and all those kind of games now, they basically are, whether they realize it or not. Loot boxes are totally gambling.
But no, back to what I was saying is that the one thing when my dad kind of walked back is like, "Give me some more of that," was rib sandwiches and third one, a baked salmon. So that was something he was kind of like shocked that I can make, and but I'm slowly picking up cooking, and like I'm kind of just like I'm getting lazy and not cooking more. But that's the one thing which I want to kind of show people that I can do this. My workout regime has gone completely down the drain, and I used to do like Instagram stories like, "Oh, look, guys, I'm working out. Guys, do this." But due to like time and most of my weights are outside and the heat, it's become virtually impossible. And there's a thing where it's like when you have the equipment at home, and it's always like, "Oh, tomorrow." And the idea that this is what I think I get, where you like, "Oh, I can work out at home, but I just won't." I have that problem as well, but I got to force myself to do it. And there's no way to do it. Like if you have stuff at home and you need to work out, you got to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, it just sucks. I just been lazy. But that's as for that, that's the 2 things I've kind of been working on. Game show, which I'm trying to work on, trying to figure out logistics and how we're gonna put it together, and kind of a cooking segment, which I'm gonna also have to film because I don't know how to film. I gotta ask either, "Hey, what do I do exactly?"
Yeah, I watched a couple of times you've gone live on Instagram and made stuff, but some of it looked pretty good. do a lasagna, and then the thing, like you said, how you don't want to cook as much. When you make these bigger things, then like if you do one thing of lasagna, that thing will last like 2 or 3 days.
Making food at home, trying to be not healthy, but like trying to be active and do something that's not playing video games, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've actually picked up the most is playing online video games with my buddies.
Number 3 best stress reliever for men.
This is recent because I used to be. I wasn't a gamer. I wasn't like that guy who used to what's called, and I'm not till now. But like now, it's become like a way to talk to my friends on the PS4, and basically we would all go on a party, and it would be like 4 of us playing the same game, and 3 others playing different games, and we would just kind of chat. And it's not about the video game. It's more about like just kind of like hanging out.
Yeah.
And it's fun, dude. I don't know, like, if you're still playing. I think I see you put up Doom videos every now and then.
Yeah, now I just started Snow Runners. It's no combat or anything. You're basically an ice road trucker. It's Alaska, Russia, Michigan, and there's like 40 different vehicles. Everything in the game is super realistic. The way that the mud, the water, the ice, the tires, how much pressure. It's like a simulation. Okay. And you basically have to get from like point A to point B, and sometimes it's not like I'm going down the road delivering logs or whatever. You have to like go up in the mountain, and if you mess up, you can like roll the vehicle.
I realized simply I like straight up shoot 'em up games. So the 2 games that I've been actively playing now is Predator, and Killing Floor 2. Go online and shoot 'em up zombies. Like there's nothing more interesting for me, and I fucking love it. It's exactly how I distract myself, and I can go hours.
Different classes and all that stuff. What is your favorite sport? Not weightlifting, that kind of stuff. I get that. All right, not muscle man shit. Like regular team or solo. Like I want to go out and do this and have fun.
I've always said that my favorite sport, and this is I barely keep up, and I don't watch it because I don't have it. I don't have it here, and I like it because of its. So I played a bit of it. I spent a month playing this said sport. It's hockey. Not Canadian related or anything. I actually like hockey. I think it's just cool. There's something about it. It's something about watching it. It's intense. It's fast. It's so fast paced. It's cool. I don't know any of the teams. If you tell me, what's your favorite team? Who's your favorite player? I'll tell you, I don't know, because I kind of follow like NHL on Instagram, and I like watching highlights, and hockey. It has to be hockey. Yeah, and the fact that I went and I tried playing it, which I did, and had to be the toughest month of my life because I didn't give up, but my knees gave out. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. I was lifting it heavy, and it didn't.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. For me, that was mine too. Hockey, man. I love hockey, and now again, keeping up with it, no. But the Bruins have always been my favorite team. Before the rule changes where the Goons could actually do their job and like defend their smaller players and that. And then the NHL has just added all of these rules, man. And now all these players like Sidney Crosby should be so much higher, better than Gretzky ever was, way younger than Gretzky was. So he was like Jordan of hockey, you know what I mean? But he's concussion after concussion because all of these people keep taking him out. And then the enforcers, which is what I used to do because I played hockey, they don't get to do what they need to do. They have so many stupid rules now. There's actually a documentary called Goon or something like that. And there's a movie, too, that Sean William Scott's in. One and two. Yeah.
It's really good.
But yeah, the guys who made Goon, the movie, they actually made this documentary, and they talked to all these famous enforcers, which is a really good documentary.
I watched a different documentary talking about like the whole idea of like who is the goon, what's his job, and it was more about the smaller clubs and where it's more lenient, more allowed. A good documentary I watched them on YouTube, by the way. One of them is about the Philadelphia Flyers and how they were one of the most notorious NHL teams. They were the one team that made at the time the Soviet Union team came over to play against them. They made them get off the ice because like they're not playing fair. I'm like, that's how the Philadelphia Flyers play, man.
Yeah, man. They were basically like the Detroit Pistons back in the day. You know what I mean? just like super rough and as much as they can get away with. And so, yeah, they definitely had a legacy. The Whalers were the same way before they moved and became the Dallas Stars or whatever. When they were the Hartford Whalers, they were like the Bruins, one of the Bruins' biggest rivalries. There was a game with the Whalers and the Bruins, and they had 4 bench clearing brawls. 4. And then the last one was so bad, the game had already ended. People came back out of the locker room to fight.
I think the only time I actually pay attention, like I seriously start paying attention, is during the Stanley Cup. I really start to like look at the scores and like I'm kind of rooting, and then I decide to pick teams just because just for the fuck of it. Like the St. Louis Blues won the last one, and I was like, nice for them, because they never won a cup. So to me, I always root for the underdog. You know, and it also comes down to like the World Cup. I always root for the underdog. I used to be pro Germany, like, oh yeah, Germany, but they did such a shitty job last year. I was like, yeah, never again. So Croatia was the team to go with the last year until they got beat by France, which I think was punk move. They didn't deserve it, but good for them. But yeah, that's the team. But in terms of sports, hockey, man, and I stick by it, regardless of my shitty knowledge of hockey. I still love the sport.
What is the manliest sport?
IPF rule, powerlifting. IPF powerlifting means there's a certain standard you have to go to. When you deadlift, you use no straps. Squats, you got to go beyond 30. There's certain rules that I fucking love it, dude. Again, I follow it on Instagram. I follow certain people. But dude, powerlifting, man. When you see guys bleeding their nose because they deadlift so much, it really jacks you up. Like Hafthor, man, he did 101. Okay, that's 1,000 pounds.
Yeah,
half a ton. That's half a fucking ton. You know. And what pissed me off, he did it like it was nothing. Yeah. Like it was nothing. I was like, yo, it's not fair.
Like for me, I think rugby is like the toughest sport. You're getting hit like a hockey player, but with no pads or anything. For me, overall, the manliest is hockey because you're hitting each other and you got team competition, you got the camaraderie, but also if somebody does something and it pisses you off, you can whoop their ass right there on the ice. The refs will actually skate backwards and be like, go ahead.
Let them beef it out. So, if you want to talk about the manly sports, I would say hockey back in the day. Yo, I want to go home and watch Chappie or like District 9.
Yeah. Anything by Neil Blomkamp.
Exactly. What's that other movie about the giant thing in the sky?
Elysium.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that one, actually. He's got a studio now that he opened called Oats. They've done they did like 5 or 6 20-minute movies that kind of give you the idea of what the story could be, to basically shop them around to big studios. Even the ones that are just like 10 minutes long, you're just like, oh my God, please make that into a feature-length movie. It's on Amazon, and then I think you can see them on YouTube now, but there's one that takes place like in Vietnam. This like god of the jungle is like stalking these army guys, and he can like reanimate the bodies and turn them into parts for him. There's another one with this big alien on a ship, and it's like made out of like all the body parts of its victims. It's so freaky looking, dude. They did one about aliens have taken over, but this time it's about insurgents who are trying to kill them, and they use like IEDs and stuff. It's basically like the aliens are America, and the insurgents are basically everywhere in the world that has oil.
Dude, I don't know about you. I'm still waiting for District 10, and like in the movie, I don't know if you've seen District 10, right?
9?
District 9, sorry. Yeah, you've seen, right?
Yeah. That was actually supposed to be Halo, by the way. They were doing all the stuff for pre-production and all of the assets and all these different things. The studio was like, ooh, man, you know what? Never mind. It's too much of a risk. We're not going to go forward with it. But the money that we gave you so far, think of something. District 9 was born.
I want to ask you something, and I'm so curious, and I'm so stupid for not bringing it up when I had you on the show. Movie adaptations of games, right? Where's the I just want to know your favorite and the one you were like you left. It's so bad you basically left halfway.
A lot of people are way too hard on them. Like a lot of people really hated the Assassin's Creed movie. I didn't hate it. I was like,
So
it's pretty good. It's cool. And they're like, oh, it's not it's Assassin's Creed movie because they're showing him inside the Animus and outside of it, and they're going back and forth during the fights. Like there are all these things they complain about, but I'm like, dude, half of the games do that. I'm not saying it's a great movie. It's all right. It's a fun watch, but it's not going to be like, oh man, give me that sequel.
as a gamer, you can't sum up a game in 2 hours. You have to look at it from a gamer perspective. You play a game, you play it for days. When you watch a movie, you watch it for 2 hours, and you can't really sum up the whole game in 2 hours.
It depends on the game, but yeah, I agree. But that's why the best way to do it is show. Netflix, Amazon. That's why The Witcher is so fucking good. And now The Witcher follows the books more than the games, obviously. It's based off the books. Because they did it in like 8 or 10 episodes or whatever, you got a lot more out of it than you would if they tried to do it into a 2-hour movie. The Last of Us, they've already got the first 2 seasons like written and pre-production is finished. They're just waiting on like Corona and all that stuff. Then they're going to announce like casting and everything, and that's an HBO thing. So that's going to be super dope. So it can be done. It just a lot of times doing it for movies isn't going to work. Sonic works, Pokemon works because it's a small game loop. It's not 160, however many hour game.
Like, I feel like if Sonic were remain true, they wouldn't put any humans because that's not in the game. I mean, I don't know, like it.
But then it's a kids movie.
It is, exactly, yeah. So I guess that's why it kind of works. I'm more like about games which I've never played and it just looks good to me. For example, I played World of Warcraft. I'm not gonna lie, I played it, but I didn't get it. So I played it for 2 weeks, and then it's like, yeah, it don't make sense. The movie came out. I liked the movie for the movie. Like if you told me, oh, this is the movie about orcs and stuff, I'm like, oh, it's cool. But then if someone told me, oh, do you know this is actually a game? I'd be like, I could care less because I actually enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, see, I didn't see it yet, but most of my friends that saw it, they liked it. They were like, it's pretty true to the game, where a lot of people were mad because of that. They were like, basically, they said, yeah, people who hadn't played the game were kind of like, what the fuck is going on? Where people who play the game were like, oh, that's so and so. Oh, yeah, like all these things they recognized. And
because the game, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it has no ending. It's a online game.
It's an MMORPG.
Exactly. So it's more like they release new evil people every expansions. Exactly. So I'm like, okay, fair enough. They're not ruining anything. They're not, what's it called? So I kind of enjoyed it. Again, I'm not a gamer. I look at it from a guy who just like, oh, it's a cool movie about fucking orcs and people and dwarves.
Plus it has the guy from Vikings, so
That's what made me like it even more.
I think I'm a lot more positive than most other geek critics in general. Like Rise of Skywalker. It's not good. It's fun. It's a decent watch. But if you're like, oh, I want it to be this and that, and it wraps up the story nicely, like, nah, dude, that ain't it. But then when you watch The Last Jedi, I thought The Last Jedi was amazing. The Leia in space thing was a little weird, but everything else was like super great because, yeah, there's so many plot holes and things, but it's Star Wars. It's wizard samurais in space. You know what I mean?
Honestly, couldn't get more accurate.
With fucking laser swords. It's for kids. Star Wars is completely for kids.
I have lightsabers in the other room.
But we love it so much. As adults, we're still into it. And then grown-ups tend to feel like this ownership of something. So when it's not how it should be, they get mad about it. I liked what Rian Johnson tried to do with The Last Jedi. He tried to change things up and then repercussions and consequences, and then they were like, oh man, we got to listen to that vocal minority on Twitter retcon everything that happened in The Last Jedi in this last movie, so we don't really get a good conclusion. And I remember reading a study that showed only like 9-point-something% of the population uses Twitter, and only like 2% of that are like this vocal minority. Most people don't even like do stuff. They just go on there, read through things, and that's it. So when somebody is using the collective voice of Twitter as a litmus test for if they're doing something right or wrong, that's not the way to go, because you're basically listening to 2% of the population. So J.J. Abrams basically listened to 2% of his fans and did all of that backpedaling. And so, but for me, it's just like, I call it the hate train. There's always a new hate train going through the station, and all of these YouTubers, all of these people on Twitter, all of these like geek culture people, jump on so quick and they all pile on whatever that thing is. Whether it was like Mass Effect, Andromeda, or Anthem, or Star Wars, or whatever. And then if something comes out that's decent, which I haven't watched it yet, but because I was waiting for the whole season to come over here, but like The Mandalorian. But yeah, it's basically a spaghetti western, man. It's Firefly. So yeah, that's why people like it. If people like that, they should be watching Firefly, which did one season. Fox ruined the marketing campaign. They put out episode 2 first. So people are like, who are these characters? Why are we watching a train robbery? Like, it was really dumb. And then it was one of the best-selling DVD collections of all time. So Fox is like, oh, we fucked up. Let's green light a movie. And then, of course, all of the hardcore fans went and saw it, but the normies didn't. So they were like, you know that trilogy you were writing? We're just going to give you the one. So it's like, man, people talk about the originals too like they're perfect. Star Wars and Empire, they pretty much are. But that wasn't George Lucas on his own. His first draft of Star Wars was hot ass garbage, and then like Coppola and Spielberg, like all of his friends, like, bro, you need to work on this shit. This makes no sense. And then they helped him. They helped him in the edit and everything. Like, so even the second one, again, he got help. Third one was mostly him on his own, and that's when you get shit like the Ewoks and all that stuff. He wrote the first one on its own. That was it. And then he did the second and third one. And that's why you've got like Luke kissing Leia. And then the next movie, oh, maybe I shouldn't make out with my fucking sister. You know what I mean? Like, so that was on the fly. But yeah, after those were a success, then he started writing episode 1, 2, and 3. But man, like, I watched episode 1 and I'm just like, dude, this is a kid's movie. What is all this politics and the Senate? And like, nobody fucking cares, dude. Here's what pissed me off probably the most about episode 7. You have the cast of The Raid. You've got Mad Dog and all these badass dudes from The Raid. You have them run around a ship and get squished by an alien. That's all you do with them. So when I saw them, I'm like, oh, there's going to be some combat up in here. Nothing. Out of all of the new stuff, I think the standalones are better.
Yeah, agreed.
You know?
Especially Rogue One.
The first act and the third act, I think, of Rogue One are great. The second act, it's kind of a hot mess, and she's definitely like a passive protagonist, and that's kind of annoying. But that was pretty great, except for some of those parts. And then, like, Forrest Whitaker's character being like, you go, I'm just going to get blown up. Like, why, dude?
You know what ticked me off about that movie? And did you notice when they were in the town, the dude bumps into 2 random civilians? And those 2 random civilians are the same people from episode 4?
Yeah.
Like, hey, he doesn't like you. Yeah. I don't like you. He was in Tatooine, and then, like, what the fuck?
It was totally like fan service kind of thing, but it was one of the things that stood out, and people were just like, why'd you even put that? You know what I mean? So last question. So the Earth is dying. They want to take a contingent of humanity to someplace. There's like a really nice base set up on the moon or Mars or whatever now. And then they're going to start going for deep space. Maybe they constructed like a railgun launching system so we can go through faster. But anyway, I'm getting way too fucking sci-fi about this question right now. They choose you as one of the people to go because you're a fitness guy and they need somebody to do like media and hosting and things like that. So they're letting you bring 5 things on the ship with you. So either book, music, movie, game, or TV show.
So I'll give you one of each because I'm pretty horrible at this because there's a lot of things I want. Music. You talk to a metalhead, man. Thing is, I like all kinds of metal, and there's certain moods of metal which I need to jump between. But the best thing I can do right now is Metallica. I think the whole discography of Metallica, and I pray that there's a lot of other metalheads on that ship. Game, right? One game, Killing Floor, straight up shoot 'em. I'm never gonna get bored of that. I don't read. This sounds really stupid, but I don't really read.
It is it's definitely stupid, but that's a lot of people these days.
But if I had to pick up a book, it would be because I'm literally trying to finish it, is this The Subtle Way
Oh,
of
okay,
Not Giving. Yeah, I'd read this again because this is actually kind of cool. And yeah, and now a movie. It needs to be something stupid. Can I pick a trilogy or like a 2 movies, or it has to be 1 movie, right?
A franchise, sure.
Anchorman.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something about straight up comedies that I just can't get enough of. It needs to be funny. Like there's no sad parts. No, funny from start to end.
Yeah. So not an Apatow movie.
It's always something like sad and heartfelt. Like, where's the comedy? I'm here to laugh, not the fucking cry or feel shitty about myself. That's why I hate Friends. Friends is not a comedy. Friends has funny bits, but it's not a comedy.
No.
And same thing with what's that other fucking How I Met Your Mother? 12 seasons just to tell him how he met his mom. And
the first few seasons are good, but then it got dumb. Just trying to pad it out. Thing with Big Bang, the first season of Big Bang was so good, man. Like it was made for geeks.
Exactly.
And then after that, it was like, what do normal people think geeks are?
That's why I like Seinfeld, man, because there's not a single moment where Seinfeld kind of goes soft. It goes hard every episode.
Like Curb, man.
Yeah, it kills me, dude. Like you would think people like should feel sorry or they should react in the show like they're sorry and it's supposed to end in a sour note. But the way it ended on that episode, it was the funniest way. And it just
it's pretty great.
And yeah, man. I mean, Seinfeld it's one of those shows where I can watch and repeat over and over and over again, man. It's just never gonna get old.
Okay. So we've got Anchorman franchise, and number 3 is Seinfeld, the series.
Yeah, 110%, dude. 110%.
Yeah.
The entire discography of Metallica and The Killing Floor. And since there are instruments on board, I'm happy with that.
All right, cool. That was pretty good, man. You got it pretty quick.
I had it in mind when you had your episode with Hamad Lamari. I'm like, yo,
what's funny is Hamad took a half hour for him to choose his 5. Because he was like debating, but if I bring that, then I can't bring this, and then so I had to like trim it down like crazy, to his actual answers.
But that's one thing. When I saw that episode, I was like, I gotta have I thought maybe because you don't edit as much. I'm assuming you do because it's been almost an hour, which is cool with me because honestly, I think that's how podcasts go, and then you take the best parts. I was like, I should have my answers ready in mind, and then when I did, and when today came, I completely forgot them. I was like, and by the way, the book, I literally just saw that book right now. I'm like, fuck it, this book.
Yeah.
And I really don't know, I don't really read, so
you should read World War Z. Fucking awesome. And then the same guy, Max Brooks, wrote another one called The Zombie Survival Guide. Which he used to be a writer for Saturday Night Live, by the way. I'm obsessed with zombies, and even when I used to go look at guns and things with my friends, I had a bunch of friends who were OSI, which is like the Air Force FBI, and we'd all go out to the gun shows and look at the weapons and stuff. But myself and this other dude, we never looked at I'm going to look at this 308 rifle for when I go hunting or whatever. It was like, would this shotgun be great in the zombie apocalypse? You know what I mean? It was like we looked at weapons only for how would it do in the zombie apocalypse. And even when I go to I haven't done it in a long time, but when I go to the shooting ranges and stuff, when I would go, I would use, the precisions, like the 308 or 300, Win Mag, whatever they have. And I only count headshots or a shot that would be right on the spine.
Oh, okay.
That's the only way, depending on which movie you're watching or which book you're reading, whatever, that's the only way you can kill them.
Unless they live in the world of the Game of Thrones, then I don't think bullets work, do they?
There's no bullets.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You have to use dragon glass.
Yeah.
And fire. I rewatched that recently.
Fuck for? Why would you rewatch that after season 7 and 8?
I don't know. It was on TV, and I was like, I'll watch it. I'll rewatch it. Why the fuck not? But I didn't watch it. I didn't start from the beginning. I started from, I think, mid season 3, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just watch it. There was some episodes I really wanted to watch, like when Arya gets back at that dude for killing the whole family.
Yeah, that was cool. This is Game of Thrones, right? It's going to dinner, and they bring you out your favorite meal.
Oh.
And it's so good, man. and you have it, and you get that last bite. You know, the last bite of like a bean burrito from Taco Bell, where you get the sauce and everything, or the bottom of like a ice cream cone from McDonald's. It's like the best part, right? So you finish that, and then they bring you out your dessert, and right as you're about to take a bite, they shit on it. That's Game of Thrones.
That's you couldn't have like something that even better. I was again watching it again. Maybe it was a mistake, but I really got to understand why it was shit after like season 6.
There's a reason I've never watched it again. I've never watched Lost again. I've never watched Dexter again, because they all were amazing, and then the last season or 2 seasons they fucked it all up. Where can people check you out?
The best place is Instagram. So if you go at Sit Down with Seth, that's where I'm ridiculously approachable. The link in my bio will take you straight to my YouTube page. I'm also on YouTube. I dabble on Facebook, but I'm mainly active on Instagram and YouTube.
Make sure you guys go and you subscribe to his YouTube.
Please.
It's 1 episode a week, dude. It's not that difficult. You know, it's not like mine where you got to catch up because you didn't go on the internet for a day or 2. Like, oh my God, there's 2 more episodes or whatever. Like, it's 1 a week, and they're really good. They're an hour. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. You know, the stuff you guys don't do for my YouTube.